Technology is one of the first things people think about when it comes to building a business continuity plan, but it's not the only piece they need to consider. I spoke with Gail Moraton of the Insurance Institute for Business and Home Safety about what distributors need to keep in mind as they craft plans for their businesses, including where to start and what resources they can tap. In fact, according to one study that she cited, 1 in 4 businesses forced to close due to a natural disaster never reopen their doors. This emphasizes the importance a business continuity plan can have for your business.
Gail, can you tell me about the Open for Business program? What is its main goal?
Well, our experience is that small businesses avoid continuity planning and disaster preparedness for various reasons. Mostly it's due to a lack of time, money, and their expertise or their lack of it. So what we have done is we have created this easy-to-use tool that guides the small business person through the steps to develop a practical and appropriate preparedness continuity plan. It is a disaster planning toolkit, which is available free of charge on our website. And again, it assists the small to medium-sized businesses, and it helps them reduce their potential for loss and then to recover quickly should a disaster strike.
Excellent. So what is the range of disasters, I guess, or issues that could affect a company? Does your program cover not just the extremes, such as hurricanes, but also challenges like strikes? I mean, can you talk a little bit about the range of issues that businesses need to think about?
Small business can be affected by the same types of issues as a large company, but the impacts for a small business can be so much greater. Large companies have the benefit of multiple and duplicate departments that are spread out to various cities and states. So if one department in a particular city is affected by an event and unable to function, they can fall back on a sister department located out of the affected area. Our Open for Business program advises the user or the planner to manage the worst case scenario. So regardless of what the disaster is, they have documented the steps to recover. So it doesn't have to be something as big as Hurricane Sandy. It could be as small as just a water main break. But regardless of what you plan, it'll be able to address both the small issues and the very large disaster issues.
So if a business has never considered building out a business continuity plan or a disaster plan, what are the first steps they should take?
Well, the first thing they should know this is that statistics show that if small businesses that close because of a disaster, at least 1 in 4 will never reopen. And this comes from a study by Dr. Bob Hartwick from the Insurance Information Institute. So as far as what first steps they should take is first they need to know their risks. Knowing the risks are going to help them evaluate the extent of their business's vulnerability to the various types of disruptions. Second, they should know their operations. They need to determine the maximum amount of time that they can endure being down after a disaster occurs. And that's knowing all their key business functions and processes for each of their employees. Third, they need to know how to contact their employees. They need their current home and mobile telephone numbers, their addresses, their email addresses, their emergency contact's name and information, both locally and out of state. This information also needs to be available outside of their business location in the event that they can't access their main place of business. And then in addition to their employee contact information, they need to have up-to-date contact information for their suppliers and vendors, their key customers, and their key contacts, because they need to know if their store or office can provide business as usual, even if others around them aren't. Their suppliers and customers will want to know that their business is still in business or how soon they will be back in business.
So you mentioned doing a vulnerability assessment as part of kind of the first steps, and you include some information on this as part of the Open for Business program. So how important is this, and do companies often underestimate the risks that are out there?
Well, first off, companies need to recognize that there is no one-size-fits-all approach. In order for businesses to plan for a disaster, they need to complete a risk and vulnerability assessment. They need to consider their differences in location, industry, their culture, their business structure, their management style, and even their key business objectives. They should first contact their local emergency management office, and they can either do this by the phone or go to their website. And it's available free. They can download their community hazard vulnerability analysis, and it'll give them all the possible hazards that are potentially could affect them in their area. So with that document, and then with our Open for Business vulnerability assessment, they can follow the steps to identify their potential threats. How likely are they to happen? And then to determine what their impacts would be if they did happen. Two biggest mistakes that many small businesses or any business will make is they fail to identify a potential threat, and then two, they underestimate the severity of the known potential threat.
In that same vein, you also have a form that encourages businesses to assess critical business functions. Again, what's the importance of this, and how should businesses approach this task?
Well, business owners need to determine what their most critical and time-sensitive business functions are. The business functions then, once they've determined, they should be rated as extremely high, medium, or low. So to determine this, they have to consider, okay, what is their main product and service? How do they produce this product or service? What other business functions and processes do they perform to run their overall business? They also need to know of these business functions and processes that they do, which have legal, regulatory, and financial obligations. And then they need to determine how much downtime each of those business functions are able to be sustained. And then what are the consequences if that business function cannot be performed? And can their business survive without it? So to help consider all of their business functions and processes, they need to think about each of their employees and what activities they perform on a daily, weekly, monthly, and annual basis. They need to think about the functions and process required to run their business in relation to accounting and finance, production and service delivery, sales and marketing, customer service and dealing with customers, human resources, administration, their IT, and their purchasing. Once they determine all these key critical business functions, then they want to think about, are there manual workarounds? Is there another method to conduct this business function in the event of a certain type of disaster?
Wow, there's so many things that businesses need to keep in mind. So it's easy to see how some things might fall through the cracks. So are there particular elements of doing this that businesses often overlook? I know they very frequently might think of the IT portion, for example, but there may be other aspects that they might not think about until it's too late.
That's right. And I would have to say, based on what I've experienced in talking with business owners or people in the business continuity field, is that they don't think about their supply chain. They need to also consider who they depend upon for their products or their ingredient, whatever particular item that they create. Do they have alternate suppliers? And are their principal and alternate suppliers, are they located in the same geographical location? Because that could be a problem if a disaster hits. They need to know if their main suppliers, do they have a business continuity plan? You want to be sure that whatever product they provide you, what is their backup plan if their main facility goes down? Do they have another facility? Do they have another business that they can depend on that can get you that product that you're so dependent on? I have seen some of the larger companies refer a supplier to our website. Say, oh, you don't have a business continuity plan, and you say you don't have the funds to hire a consultant. Well, here's a website you can go to, and it can walk you through one. So that's another thing that these larger companies can do with their suppliers who are small, is refer them to our website. And then you have that guarantee that at least your supplier, your small supplier, has at least thought about what they need to plan for.
For businesses that are interested in learning more, what resources would you recommend?
Well, first off, I would recommend that they visit our website. There is a lot of information, not just on business continuity planning, but also on mitigation features on commercial buildings, as well as their own personal preparedness. They can go in and see what they can do to prepare or mitigate their actual residence. But there's also ReadyRating.com, which is a free service from the American Red Cross, and that helps businesses also prepare for disasters and think about what they need to plan for as far as their employees. There's also a disasterassistant.gov. They provide information on how the government can help before, during, and after a disaster. I also encourage businesses to check the Business Civic Leadership Center. There's a disaster help desk that once a disaster has occurred, it provides lots of information for businesses on assistance on how to recover.
Excellent. It sounds like there's a lot of great resources out there.
Yeah, I could go on and provide you with that.
Well, I appreciate you taking the time to fill in our readers on all of this great information and with these great resources, Gail.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it, Lindsay.